Hey guys, welcome to our new tutorial for the week of May 11th. And this is going to be our first real painting demonstration today. Yay! So, I have just a little rough sketch in front of you of just a little cup that I use on watercolor paper, a little coffee mug. And what I want you guys to do is kind of make a mug or a cup. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to actually be doing painting from our house. Woohoo! So this is going to be an interesting thing, okay? So before you guys left for school, I gave each of you guys some watercolor paper, okay? And a brush. You should already have a pencil. Let's just say this little painting tutorial is going to be really raw and crafty. I tried using tea bags for this, and what I'm going to show you is coffee. But we're going to be using things that we find around our house to use as paints, which is kind of a fun little project for all of us. So you could use coffee. You could use a lot of tea bags with a tiny bit of water. It has to be really, really concentrated because we want to get some dark colors. We also are going to use container or for like the coffee that I have it in, not the tea, and a water glass, paper towel. Okay, so those are kind of all the supplies that you're going to need when you sit down here to work with me today. Okay, so I have all of this kind of written out. I hope you've taken note of that. And I tried using some different types of tea earlier. And what I realized is that, I failed, but I kind of had to trial and error. I feel like that's what art is, right? If you experiment with art, sometimes things don't work out the way you want them to, and it comes up with some better ideas. So, c'est la vie. We tried, we failed. Life goes on. Do you want to see how bad it was a fail? This is what I tried to make earlier. Ooh, yeah. Nope, nope. Okay. So this is going to be another trial. So we're going to see how this one goes. So I just drew a little coffee cup on here, okay? And we're going to use some different strengths of coffee to put down some different shades. And we're going to be doing this kind of like watercolor, okay? So I know you guys have had some experience in watercolor. And I'm going to move this little camera here so I can show you what I have. I have 3 or 4 cups here. Oops. Obviously, my directional abilities are not very good. So, here we go. So, here are 4 cups, okay? Now, here's my little paintbrush, okay? This one is the strongest one, okay? So, this, I used a ton of instant coffee and coffee grounds, and I put them in the water. It's very, very dark. And then what I ended up doing is I put a little bit of this in another cup, and I added a little bit of water, and then I put a little of this in this cup, and I added a little bit more water. So I have some different tones. This is my water cup. It already has a little bit of color in it, but this one right here is my water cup, okay? So I'm going to start out with my lightest tone, because in watercolor, there's different ways that you can do watercolor, okay? You can add, and basically when I'm saying watercolor, I mean coffee. What are some other cool things that you could do? You could use berries. You could use berry fruit and use the color from like a strawberry or blueberry or blackberry. You could see if you had Kool-Aid in the powder form or anything like that to make kind of a paint with. And there's going to be 2 different assignments with this. Your first assignment is just going to experiment, okay? So I'm experimenting with just a mug and like a little still life. And then what I'm going to ask you guys to do is to also make a painting of your choice. I would prefer it to be a portrait, a landscape, or a still life. And you can sketch it out beforehand, and then you can just add some of the coffee, tea, berries, whatever you want to use for it. You can use for color. Okay, so this is just kind of a fun little assignment this week where we're just kind of experimenting and playing around with things. So I'm going to take my lightest color, and before I started interrupting myself, with watercolor, you can paint the lightest color first, okay? And you can see I'm kind of doing some just dry brushing. Dry brushing is when there's not a lot of paint on your brush, but you're just kind of making some marks. This is dry brushing over here on the side. And so you can start with watercolor and use it in a light capacity and then build up in strength. That's typically what I like to do. My dog, on the other hand, does not like to do any of that. Okay, so I'm putting a little bit of this down here. Okay, and I have kind of a base coat going. And then I'm going to go to my middle tone. I'm going to see how this is. I haven't really tried this out. Okay, good, good. It's a nice middle tone. Okay, that's good. We're getting there. Okay, and kind of fun. I'm painting with coffee. It smells really good. I've always wanted to do this. It's one of those things where I see like tutorials online and stuff about coffee and different materials that people use for painting, and I've just always wanted to try it. So I'm like, hey, why not? Why not try it? It's a quarantine. Everything's changing. Lots of things are crazy right now. Let's paint with some coffee. Okay, so normally in watercolor, I would let this dry a little bit, and then I would add to it, but I'm actually going to pause the camera. I'm going to take this to my hair dryer, and I'm going to dry it really fast, so you don't have to like wait forever. All right, and so we are back, and here I have, I just blow dried some of the coffee, and then I took a little paper towel and just kind of blotted some of the pieces that had not dried yet. That's a really great method to kind of clean up your piece. So I always like to have like a paper towel around me so that if I mess up or I want to fix something, I can easily go in with a paper towel, or Kleenex works really well because they absorb a lot of moisture really quickly, and that's really what you want, is to absorb that moisture, okay? So now I'm going to go in with my, and I'm going really fast. You do not have to go this fast, but I really don't feel like you need to watch me paint for an hour to get a feel for this. That would be really boring, okay? So now I'm going to go in with my darkest color, and I'm going to go along this edge, and I'm going to darken up this edge. And I can, what I like to do too is once I put in some guidelines of where I want the watercolor, I kind of tap with my pen or my paintbrush, and that will help the watercolor to kind of more color to come off of the brush. You can see I'm just like patting color in. So this is going to be a little bit darker in here. See, I just dropped that color in there. I know you guys have all worked with watercolor before, so some of this should be very familiar. I'm going to darken up this bottom edge a lot too. Piece in the middle here. Again, very raw, but I like things a little raw. this little tiny spot on the edge. Okay, now if I wanted to go in and soften up some of these lines, I could just take my kind of wad up a little paper towel and kind of soften some of these edges with a paper towel. Another way, so this is one way I could do this, is just kind of soften. And see, I'm just blotting, I'm not rubbing. You don't want to rub with watercolor. Another way that you can do this is by taking your brush, okay, and I'm going to clean it off in my water. So, where's my water? There it is. I'm going to clean it off in my water. Oh, now I'm going to try to get back up. Nope, there we go. So I'm going to clean it off in my water. This little cord is in the way. Okay, so I'm going to clean it off in my water, and so now I kind of really only have just water on my brush, no coffee, and I can just go with my brush and kind of very gently rub this edge, and the water will help kind of bleed that coffee out, so I can have a little bit more gradual lines instead of having a lot of harsh lines. If you want to have harsher lines, that's fine too. I like the look of soft and harsh lines. I like kind of that dualistic look. So I like to soften my lines in certain areas, and I like to have really drastic lines in others. So I'm going to go in here and just kind of make this a little bit darker. This top of the cup. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. And you can see where because I'm just playing around, my paper is not like normally in a watercolor piece, as you guys should know, you would tape down the paper, and that would help it to not, what am I trying to say? If you tape down the paper, it wouldn't buckle so much as it is now. But I didn't tape this down, so it's buckling a lot. Oh, you can't see that. It's just doing the bottom edge. Okay. I kind of like this movement in here and how there's some kind of natural highlights there, so I'm leaving that. So what I would end up doing at this point is letting this dry, and then I might actually go in with some graphite or charcoal and just kind of finish it up tomorrow. So what I think would be kind of a fun little project for you guys is using coffee is definitely a different ballgame. This is not normal paint, but it's really fun. And if you have kind of a gradient scale, or like you have, like I have here, you have 4 different colors, and you're kind of using, because I'm counting the water, you have 4 different colors, and you're kind of using those to play around with. It can be really fun. So basically, like, this is kind of like an experiment of playing around with some different kind of coffee techniques. But then after this dries up, I'm actually going to go back in here with another layer of the dark coffee, and I'm going to try to darken up spots. And I will also be going in, I really want this spot darker right here. I will also be going in, you can always tilt your paper too to make it run. I will also be going in and adding some kind of pencil, some just colored, or not colored pencil, just regular pencil to add some extra detail in this, because I really like just kind of this lucid flow of color. It almost looks like a really cool, like, glazed pottery piece. But I do want to give it a little bit more momentum. So, and I'm just going to tilt this down. I can have this flow around a little bit, maybe more towards the bottom. Okay. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to kind of leave this here. I'm going to prop this pencil up underneath it just so it stays a little bit more. And I'm going to leave this as stage 1, okay? So this is going to be stage 1 of my first piece. And so I want you guys, this is going to be kind of a multi-dimensional project. So the first thing that you're going to do is use some sort of coffee or tea or something along those lines. And you're going to draw or paint, kind of sketch out a quick object. Use the paint to apply some sort of tonal value to the object, and then if you want to add some Sharpie or pencil or charcoal or anything like that on top of it for more detail, you can do that. So I'm going to do that tomorrow in the second half of this video. And so your assignments for this week are going to be to do one object in some sort of found paint. So it could be coffee, tea, like I said, or a fruit, or crystal light packets if you have it, with a tiny bit of water. You might have to experiment a little bit, might have to be a trial and error, but that's kind of what makes it fun. And then you're also going to do one object just like this one with a mug or something, and then the second thing that you're going to do is you're going to do something of your choice. So whether that is a portrait, a still life, or a landscape, okay? And then so you're going to actually turn in 2 different things that you are going to quote unquote paint, okay? Next week then I will be working on distributing paints to you and brushes. If for some reason you don't have coffee, you don't have tea, you don't have a paintbrush, you don't have any more watercolor paper, please let me know. I can get those things to you. You can either come by school and pick them up, I can mail them to you, whatever works, just let me know. All of the instructions will be on OneNote, and I will also be emailing you everything as well. So this is kind of a fun little thing. I hope you guys have fun with it because I think it's fun. So hopefully I'm not the only one. Anyway, miss you guys, love you, and I hope all is well, and I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. Again, I'm going to post another quick video tomorrow about, so you'll get one half today, one half tomorrow, about kind of how to finish these up after it dries. So, yay! Okay, over and out. See you soon.